Let me do this. I don't know how to do this.
Hey guys, welcome to News. My name is David and this is Landon. So today we're going to be talking about NBA prospects and what do we think about them? What have we seen in March Madness that maybe changed our opinion on them? So here we go.
March Madness we're in the middle of March Madness right now. The round of 32 just closed up last Sunday, and the Sweet 16 is starting soon. And so we're just going to share our thoughts on like the players, the teams so far in the tournament this year. And just an interesting little fact about this year's whole college season, but specifically this March Madness, is that with players going into the draft this year for the first time in a long time, the lottery picks are, I think, most, if not all, coming from college.
Like with the influx we've seen of like European players and guys going to the G League, we haven't. I feel like NCAA players and like college players have kind of decreased in the lottery. Like you see guys like Jalen Green from the G League and like Isaiah Roby, and then you go to like international players like Luka and Nikola Jokic and even guys like Dragan Bender, who all were picked in the draft. Dragan Bender and Luka Doncic being in the lottery.
Why did Dragan Bender come here?
I don't know. I just remember he was the fourth pick sometime. Yeah. So it's like you see an influx of European players and G League players, and it kind of has to take away from the college players that already have like dominated the draft. But this year it's completely different. We kind of flipped on its head. It's college players for I think 13 out of the 14 potential lottery players.
There's a G League?
Yeah, Dyson Daniels. Yeah, he's projected to be a top 14 pick.
Yeah. And I mean, that just makes March Madness all the more interesting because it's like we're getting a preview of these NBA talents that are playing against each other and proving themselves for the NBA, basically.
And with so many players, so many lottery picks, or potential lottery picks playing in the tournament, some are inevitably going to lose early. So there were some huge upsets in the first weekend, including Kentucky losing to St. Peter's, a 2 seed, losing to a 15 seed.
In a lot of people's brackets.
Yeah, mine. I had them in the Final Four. Another team that lost early. Another one of my Final Four teams. I lost 2 Final Four teams on the first day, but Iowa lost to Richmond.
Yeah, we hate Iowa.
Yeah, Iowa both beat Purdue and IU in the Big Ten tournament to win it. But their best player, Keegan Murray, he looks to be a top 5 pick in next year's draft. He is basically a very efficient and effective player on both ends of the floor. He can defend decently well. He is above average perimeter defender, above average shot blocker, and he can also spread the floor, shoot three ball really well, and also drive to the rim pretty well. His one flaw, I would say, is his playmaking, but it's not a huge deal since he is a power forward.
Yeah, he's just a very balanced player. He's just a very balanced player in every category except playmaking, which again, like if that's your biggest flaw as a power forward, like that's amazing. If your biggest flaw is just your playmaking and like not like a part of your defense or like something like that. Yeah, he's just impressive, and I wish he didn't beat IU and Purdue in the Big Ten tournament. But he lost, so did IU.
But a lot of people have questioned whether he can defend against bigger players in the NBA. He's mostly been guarding small forwards and power forwards, which he's been fast enough to defend, but he's not. He might be too small to guard those bigger power forwards. Well, I guess we'll see how that translates to the NBA, but I have a lot of hopes for this kid.
Like college basketball and NBA basketball is a very different game, and some people transition very well, and some people do not transition very well. Keegan Murray is an example of where it could be iffy on whether or not he's going to be able to transition well, especially because he is kind of a skinnier power forward, right? Mm-hmm. And he's not a stick necessarily. No. He's and he's not like short. Mm-hmm. He's like a perfect 6'8" for a power forward. But yeah, he's leaner,
Mhm.
which can be good for power forward if they pack on muscle, but if they don't, then they can get pushed around easily in the NBA because they're just a boy amongst men. And we will talk about an extreme of that problem later on this video too.
Another team that lost early, Wisconsin lost in the second round of the tournament. Their main player, Johnny Davis, he's been banged up for the past month. Basically, he didn't play well in the Big Ten tournament. They lost their first game, and then they lost their second game in the NCAA tournament. So he's just struggled in the past 2 or 3 weeks dealing with that injury that he's had, trying to play through it, try to play with it, try to carry his team. He's by far the best player on his team, and there's no one really close, which is a good thing if you're on and you're hitting and you're carrying your team. But when you're injured and you're kind of hobbling over the finish line, it's very easy for you to be upset by a team like Michigan State in the Big Ten tournament and a team like Iowa State in the NCAA tournament. So I like him. I like his scoring a lot, but I just want to see what he can do on defense. He is a smaller guard, so I want to see if he can play make as well as he has been doing in college.
Yeah. What's he projected?
He's projected top 10.
Projected top 10. Yeah. I mean, it kind of stinks that his college season before being drafted was a injury-prone season.
Yeah.
But also, the fact that he is still top 10 with an injury season. It's props to him, and I wish him all the best, in the NBA, and hope he can, isn't it like that in the NBA, injury prone, and he should be a talented guard in the NBA, especially, I feel like the young guards, I mean, this draft class has a lot of guards and forwards, but then also just, the NBA had a lot of young guards, and so hopefully he can join those ranks of just talented young guards.
And if you look at just all the Big Ten players, there's so many Big Ten players in the top 10, top lottery picks, and he was the one that played best out of anybody. He won Big Ten Player of the Year, so it's going to be interesting to see if he can still outshine those players in the NBA. I think his scoring should translate really well to the NBA, but how can he defend against those other guards in the NBA that are inevitably going to be bigger than those in college? So, moving on to another team that lost early in the March Madness NCAA tournament, Auburn. They are in a similar boat to Wisconsin. They lost early in the SEC tournament and lost in the NCAA tournament in the second round, losing to Miami. Do you have any thoughts on their best player, Jabari Smith?
Jabari Smith is I have seen a lot of mock drafts as being the projected number 1 overall pick this coming up season. Yeah, I mean, I don't know too much about a crazy amount about him. Is he raw?
Yeah, he's raw defensively for sure. But
That's
on offense, he's decently polished with his 3-point shot, and his jump shot is very polished.
Yeah.
But it's how can he get to the rim and how can he play with his effort on defense? It's more of it's more of how, again, it's going to be how do these players translate to the NBA? And it's kind of you can't really predict that. You got to see how have they played against other college players. This game is completely different than that of in college, but it's really exciting to see him do very well in college and have that opportunity to be a top 3 pick next year.
Yeah, for sure.
And them losing, I don't think drops his draft stock at all.
No.
He has shown in the regular season that he is the play. He is a dominant player, both at the 3-point line and also getting into the basket. So
and with the March Madness, I don't think, for the most part, I don't think doing bad in the March Madness. I don't think doing bad in March Madness can drop your stock necessarily a ton. I think it's more doing well in March Madness that will raise your stock. Whereas, if you have a bad game and your team loses, teams aren't necessarily going to decide not to draft you because of that one game that you didn't play. Because March Madness is a single elimination tournament, which just makes it so much more fun and exhilarating and just stressful is the word that comes to mind. But yeah.
Mhm. And now that those are like the four major teams that like lost early. Also Baylor, but they don't have many lottery picks. They have some later first round picks that don't. I don't really have much hype going into them, to be honest.
You said at the beginning. I remember the day that before, like the day when we were making brackets. I think I can if you could pull up the text of you saying, you said Baylor's overrated.
I did.
Yeah.
I said Baylor should be a 2 seed. I saw them lose in the Big 12 tournament, and I wasn't impressed by them almost at all this season. People had them as high as the number 3 team in the NCAA, and I didn't think that was reasonable. And inevitably they lost to North Carolina. North Carolina's a very hot team. I'm kind of scared to face them if I'm Purdue, because I'm a Purdue fan. But I think Baylor they were a good team. They had a lot of hype going into them because they won it last year. But it's hard to be a 1 seed when you're not the best team in your conference.
Duke, they're still in the tournament.
So I'm not super high on Paulo Banchero. He's a great player. He's a great scorer, great defender, but I don't trust him in the half-court offense that much. I don't trust him. He's a decent playmaker, but I don't trust him to generate offense like the likes of Chet Holmgren, who we're going to talk about, and Jabari Smith, and even Jaden Ivey. I feel like Paulo Banchero can't really create his own shot as well as those other 3 guys. That's why I'm not as high on him as I probably should be. But he is the best defensive player. If you look at the top 5, he's the best defensive player. But I feel like he's young and raw, and he could develop well. But I just haven't seen much with him at Duke to be like, hey, this guy's going to be a star. So I don't know. I feel like I might just be hating on him, but I don't like him going into the draft that much. I think if he is a good player, props to him, but I just don't see him translating that offense to the NBA. And I feel like we've been talking about how it translates, and we can't really predict that, but I feel like I just have a feeling that it's going to be difficult for him to score when he's not an elite 3-point shooter in college.
Yeah, I would say his career looks like if he does not develop well, he will not be a good player in the NBA whatsoever.
Yeah.
With how inconsistent he is, in the NCAA, you can't be crazy inconsistent, but you can be. I can't think of the word. But the only thing that comes to mind is how Kobe describes his early career, how he just was a kid throwing up air balls and stuff.
Yeah.
And how he could do that when he was younger, but obviously we know Kobe developed and became the Mamba.
And the thing is, Paulo has that safety net because he has guys like AJ Griffin, who's also going to be a top 10 pick. He has Wendell Moore, who's going to be a top 20 pick. Mark Williams, who's going to be another first-round pick. So he has so many players around him that if he plays bad, he has people that can help him and basically help save the game almost. So yeah. I feel like he hasn't had that big of a pressure to succeed because he has so many people around him, which could be good with him developing his game, but he hasn't really had the pressure of having to win a game by himself like Jaden Ivey has, Benedict Matherin has, Chet Holmgren has, Jabari Smith has. So I feel like Paulo is going to be unpolished and raw going into the NBA, but I hope he develops and I hope he plays well.
And when he gets to the NBA, he's not going to be the star of his team. He's going to have to prove himself and have to prove his spot. Mm-hmm. And if he doesn't if he doesn't get his role on his team and do it well and be consistent with it, he's just not gonna be. Yeah, he's just not gonna fit well in the NBA. Mm-hmm. Okay, Chet Holmgren. I would say Chet Holmgren is probably one of the most hyped up players from this draft class.
He's the most polarizing player in this draft for sure. What does that word mean? Polarizing is either people love him or people hate him.
Oh, right. I wouldn't say so. I'm kind of in between. Actually, no, I'm not.
I'm not.
I don't like him. I think he's gained a lot of popularity, because of NBA 2K community. Because he is a cheat. Like
he's a unicorn.
He's a unicorn, and unicorns do well in 2K because 2K is horrible and not realistic in any way whatsoever. But my personal feelings about Chet Holmgren is that he's a twig. I mean, I'm 5'7" and skinny, so like I'm a twig, but like he's a twig compared to. But I'm not going on a basketball court and playing against like.
He weighs 20 pounds more than me.
How much taller is he than you?
1 foot and 2 inches.
Really? Oh, I mean, I think that's a lot. I don't know why I said. Yeah, but yeah, he does not have like any meat on his bones, and unless he can somehow, Dave and I were just joking. Unless he can like get like Zion tips for like any weight or like
pass me those Cheez-Its.
Yeah, pass me those Cheez-Its, Zion. But like, if he cannot get big, he's just gonna get bullied in the NBA, like physically, and he's just gonna get back down immediately. And like right now, one of his best qualities is his shot blocking. But like, shot blocking is not gonna do anything when like Giannis is running full speed at you, or like any player whatsoever that is against you.
It's funny you mentioned Giannis.
Well, because
so in the 2013 NBA draft, the number 15 pick was Giannis Antetokounmpo. His main concern was being raw and being super skinny. And look at Giannis now. He has bulked up insanely well, and I feel like Chet Holmgren has the same capabilities of doing that.
Yeah.
The thing is, I think Chet is honestly more polished than Giannis was at that time, and I think he'll have more opportunities to develop. The thing is, I don't know if I see that same drive that I see from Giannis when I see him play.
Yeah.
Like, he's a hype man. He feeds off really, really well. I just don't see the same drive that I see from Giannis when I watch Chet.
Yeah. One thing I do really like about Chet is that I believe he was shorter, and then he had a huge growth spurt.
Yeah, he's a great ball handler.
And so he started as a guard, and then he grew huge, and so then he became a unicorn, which is insane. And it's amazing that he can handle the ball like a guard.
He's similar to Anthony Davis in that.
He's not very uncoordinated, which you see. He's not uncoordinated at all. He's very coordinated, which you never see for plus 7 footers a lot, because usually they're they have just more of them. So they have it's just they're just not clumsy, but they're uncoordinated. Right.
I think the biggest test is we're gonna have to see him go against the likes of Duke, maybe Purdue, maybe Arizona. So it's can he match up against Mark Williams of Duke, who's a huge center? Can he match up against Christian Coloco of Arizona, who's also just a huge center, 7 foot, 260? And then also Travion Williams, who's 6'9", 250. He's just a big ball of post-ups.
Yeah.
And then also Zach Edey, who's 7'4". So can Chet Holmgren match up against those bigger centers?
Yeah.
I think if he can, then I don't see any reason why he can't succeed in the NBA. But if he struggles against those players, then we'll have to see how he bulks up, how he develops in the NBA.
Exactly.
I feel like he's super polarizing, but I kind of found a sweet spot where I'm I could see him doing this, but I could also see him doing this, wherever.
It's his career kind of branches from this point, where it's depending on how he develops from here. Which again, you can say this of all the players, but all of them are kind of a little different on how they can develop. But Chet Holmgren, it's he either bulks up or he doesn't, and that kind of depends on his whole career. And he's a player that I look at and I'm he is still a teenager.
Yeah, he's 18.
He's 18, and but I look at him and I'm just you are still a kid. You are someone that I could see you are someone I could easily see walking around my high school, and you are still a kid, and you're about to go play in the NBA. Good for you, and go get your bag. Yeah, you are about to go play against LeBron James.
So the next one we're going to talk about is Arizona star Benedict Matherin. He's a bigger shooting guard, bigger wing. He is super athletic, super great outside the 3-point line. And I haven't seen him much because we're on the East Coast and he's in the West Coast. All of the games start 10:30. But when I've watched him, he's been very impressive, very good on transition. He's a sneaky good playmaker. I can't wait to see how he translates to the NBA, how he can score in the NBA. Again, I haven't watched him too much, but everything I've seen from him is super impressive. I'm super hyped by him, and I want to see how he finishes out the tournament. He did struggle a bit against TCU last game, but he picked it up during overtime. So I have no worries that Arizona will make a Final Four run, and he raises his draft stock into the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, he's leading. I think you believe Arizona is one of the best team. You believe Arizona's
they are the best team
the
in my
best
opinion.
team in the tournament, but I think he also gets less press because of that, because he is on a kind of more balanced team with better
he has 2 or 3 first round picks on his team.
Yeah, and then the rest of the team by itself is just a balanced team.
Yeah, with great depth.
Yeah, with great depth, and so because of that, it's a team effort, and so he's the star, but the whole team is what makes the great team, and so he's not necessarily going to be in the headlines always. And yeah, that's all I really have to say about him.
So here's the last guy we're going to talk about. He's been probably my favorite player this season.
I have mixed emotions about him. And confession time. I am starting to like this player a lot. And I don't know if in my morals, as an IU fan, as a Hoosier, if I can do this. Because I like him. I like him a lot. I love Ja. Ja's one of my favorite players in the whole world. And then Ja is taking this guy under his wing. Now I'm conflicted because I'm if Ja's taking him under his wing, then do I have to start liking him too? Because if he's like Ja, I'm gonna like him. And I've watched his games and I like him a lot. But yeah, the next player is Jaden Ivey from Purdue University, Lafayette, Indiana. And
Boiler up.
No, you can't say that in my house. Get out. But I like him a lot. And as much as I hate to see, I don't even know. I don't want Purdue to win the championship as an IU fan. But you know what?
You just want to see him play more.
I do want to see. I want to see Ivy play more. I want to see him take over like he did in the game against Texas. Gosh, he just took first half he was being double teamed, so he couldn't do anything. But then when Travion took over that game, and they had to leave Ivy open, and then he took over, and he was hitting shots from not logo, but
close
deep,
to it,
very deep.
Yeah.
He's just a star.
I'm going to talk about his shot a bit. When you look at his shot, every time it looks like it's going to miss. Because his form is so unorthodox, and it's there's no way this goes in. It's going to be 5 feet off to the left or the right. But he makes it. It reminds me of Tyrese Halliburton's shot. They're both 40% in 40% from the 3-point line. And then Jaden Ivey is going to be one of the fastest players in the league. He's super athletic. I've seen comparisons to Zach LaVine, Ja Morant, Russell Westbrook. This is a hype. This is a hype train from everybody who loves Purdue and anybody who just loves to see Jaden Ivey. And the great thing that Jaden has had is he's had NBA level shooters around him. So he's been able to play make to guys who can hit shots and who he can trust. Guys like Mason Gillis, like Sasha Stefanovic, like Ethan Morton, like Eric Hunter Jr. And he is the perfect package offensively. From with his size at 6'4", around 200 pounds, he is the perfect package athletically, shooting wise, playmaking wise. My only issue with him is how he translates his defense. With this athleticism and this size, he should be able to defend every point guard super well, but he can't. So I think it's based on his effort, to be honest. I think he's a high motor player. He's a winning player, but he struggles on defense because I don't even know why. And I feel he relies on his team too much on defense, and I think that's just how Purdue runs its defense. But Jaden Ivey had multiple chase down blocks last game, so I'm not too worried about his defense. But
my theory is that with how active he has to be on offense, is that gets like burnt out and can't put his full energy into his defensive end. But like just like you said, the fact that he had 2 chase down blocks last game shows that when he is putting his full effort, because like March Madness, everyone has something. It's one game elimination. Everyone has something to prove, so everyone's putting their all into the game. So when he's putting his all into the game, he's putting his all into defense, all into offense. His defense is producing chase down blocks, which is insane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I had something else to say about him. Oh, unlike a lot of the other players that we've been talking about in this video, where like I've talked a lot about development, I feel like Jaden Ivey is just a guy that I can see going straight into the NBA, and like he still has development, obviously, and he can get much better. But it's less developing and more just purely improving, which I think is a solid. Like there is a solid difference. There's a solid difference. So like just like you said, he could improve on his offense a little bit. But he's a guy that I see going to the NBA and just instantly becoming a stud.
Yeah. He's my pick for Rookie of the Year next year. Not because I'm biased, but kind of because I'm biased. But like, who is gonna like go straight into the league and put up like 18 points a game and 5 assists besides him?
Yeah.
It's gonna be like maybe Jabari Smith if he like shows out. Like, I feel like Jabari Smith could have. He's kind of raw though. I feel like it's gonna be like how he translates to the NBA. It's like this guy. I don't think there's any issues with him translating to the NBA because you've seen so many guys like him do the exact same thing that he's doing right now, like Zach LaVine, like John Morant, like Russell Westbrook. I'm not saying he's at the same level as those guys, but I hope he is. But we've seen those progression of those guys who are super athletic. My only worry is guys like he could turn out to be Jalen Green and just be less polished on offense than we actually think he is. But Jalen Green is also a lot younger. So yeah. Even though he was drafted a year earlier.
Oh yeah, that's another thing about him. Is that he has taken that extra year.
Yeah, he is a sophomore.
He's a sophomore, and so he's taking that extra year. Like last year, I don't think he would have been. Would he have been a first-round pick?
Yeah, he'd have been a lottery pick.
Would have been a lottery pick if he went last year? Oh, wow.
Yeah, they had him at like 12 or 13.
It would have been 12 or 13. But going into this year, he's going to be like 4, like 3.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like 3 through 5. But yeah, and like that just shows how he's taking this year to develop as a player. And because of that, he is just a more polished player now going into that league.
And whenever I've seen interviews of him, I feel like he's focused on one thing only. I don't think he's mentioned the NBA once in any interview. It's always been, hey, I want to win a championship with this team. This is what I'm focused on.
It's always focused on the team. Yeah.
And I feel like that's something I'm so excited to see in the NBA. Of just him being focused on whatever team he's on. Tyrese Halliburton had the same thing with Sacramento Kings. He didn't like to be – he said he felt kind of weird being drafted to that team, but he still gave his all to that city. Exactly. And he was really sad that he left and went to the Pacers, even though I think he's going to like being on the Pacers when we have a great player coming to the next in the next draft. So
yeah, I think he is coming in with a good like he's even coming in with a good attitude, like a good mental attitude, good mental space. And just to conclude up, Jaden Ivey. I mean, obviously as Pacer fans, I think if I could get anyone from this draft, it'd be Jaden Ivey. If I could wish to get anyone from this draft, it'd be Jaden Ivey. Even though it might be kind of weird with Duarte and Halliburton, but I really do not care. Just give me Jaden Ivey.
I think the best player in this draft is Jabari Smith, so if we can get him, definitely him. But I've seen Jaden Ivey be as high as number 2 on mock drafts.
Yeah.
So if Jabari Smith is gone, pick him over Holmgren and Banchero, in my opinion. Even though Holmgren does have that insane upside, we've seen the floor of Jaden Ivey, I feel like.
But knowing Pacers luck, we're going to get the 7th pick overall, so it doesn't really matter anyways. I hope you guys all liked watching. Let us know down in the comments below how your bracket's doing this season.
Because mine sucks.
Yeah. I know most of you that are watching are probably in a bracket with us, but still, let us know. So like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you soon.
Peace.